Welcome to the marquee matchup of Stage 1 at the Premier League Pool 2025. Today, we will witness the devastating break power of the American legend, Shane Van Boening, clashing head-on with the explosive and unpredictable flair of the Filipino pool sensation, Johann Chua.
You must be going a little bit stir crazy. It is like day 256 at today, and we were just talking about the stamina behind playing in an event like this and, you know, look to do for the future. But I was just sitting watching earlier, and I was just sitting there thinking to myself, and I noted a few things down, but from the middle to obviously the bottom, you know, the top has been quite consistent with like young talent and their personalities. If they're not playing, they're at the practice tables, you know, themselves, and win or lose any match, they come off the table smiling. And I'm just super impressed with them all, and they all are really in the shots they've been making. And like you said, it's the stamina, and the TV table will be played on from day one, which I think is something new we're introducing to the Opens, you know, instead of it being this match table and that arena. But also, you know, the Opens are all about giving everyone the defending champion.
I'll tell you what, touching on Robbie, he really stood out from the rest this week in a lot of different ways. Talk about Johann Chua is... But going back to what you said, sorry, Emily, going back to what you said, the dynamic of players here, there's so many
mainstream, you know, people don't know about it in the world, you know, in our little bubble of, and it's super competitive still, but they come off and, you know, it's just a really lovely vibe here. Everyone does have a little bit.
Extremely well, but boy, we thought those were tight until we got to these. And that's another thing that I love about this tour, is it makes the game a lot more difficult.
Yeah, when we obviously started the European Open, which feels like months ago now, in the room next door, obviously we're, like you said, as soon as these rassons got set up, and, you know, we looked at these pockets, and they have all been practicing, but I hear it in comms, because obviously when I sit in the office, I listen to you guys. Tables that we're playing on the Mosconis, the Rares Cup, which is the tough. You know, off the table, he's got a great personality. There's so many similarities with him and Clint, and, you know, that's the beauty of these invitational tournaments.
A little bit more out of AJ Manis. I know he's been a little bit under the weather here and there, but this format lends to things just not necessarily more out of AJ Manis. I know he's been a little bit under the weather here and there, but this format lends possibly from all the rest.
I'm not gonna lie, I've got AJ Manis saved under my phone as rising star. He is a future world champion, you know, like, but we had lots of troubles with his visa. You know, we've been talking to him for a good 2 months sort of thing, and trying to sort this out, and shout out to him. And, you know, him coming here, we were super excited about it. But obviously, you know, he went...
Table number 1 and 2, and the play really has been at the highest level on these tight tables.
Yeah, I feel like you guys really have the best seat in the house, and kind of, you know, just even seeing that league table, it's brutal for these guys. You know, they've been grinding for days, and you can see it on some of their faces. Clint, personally, I think he's one of the best players in the world. Someone who has a break like that after, but, you know, we have a ranking event, the Seattle Open. I believe it starts the day after.
They all did this to us. You are different, and I truly believe that. That's why I'm here, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I truly...
You know, the whole team that we have at Matchroom Pool and Multisport are all so passionate about this sport. None of us are pool players to make other people fall in love with the sport that are outside of, you know, the fans that are already in it, and, you know, you and I that can fall in love with. And you all root for your champion, you root for your person that you want to win, and it just takes the relentless sort of drive. But we got the team to do it, and it's going to happen.
It could take forever for me to explain how hard they work and everything that they do, but it's a conglomerate. Mosconi Cup this year was on fire. That place was literally on fire.
Yes, but even the rooms that you stay in, it's like, I remember when I stayed there, I thought I'd been like super, like 10 minutes from Disney. You know, everyone's a little bit on the...
Right. So it was a pretty special place.
Yeah, a lot of the feedback that we got from the USA fans is that it was the first Mosconi where we had like more of like a local DJ. It was more local music, and also It was a dominant USA location, just set us up perfectly for a Florida Open. Obviously, look, 9-ball originated in the US, you know, sells out the $750, 256 players. And now you're going to have the Florida Open, $250 to just sign up. Oh, on top of that as well, there'll be an additional junior event. I'm not sure if we actually even mentioned that. In the interviews, and what we've been seeing with the junior events is just something absolutely phenomenal. You know, they are fearless, Scott, like the last couple of years. So it's all about finding these next players come through, and to find the next superstar. So August is gonna be absolutely
years old and having the talent I did back then, and listening to this conversation and somebody like yourself saying, finding the next superstar. And really, that's what I explain to people in the States, right? Let's just call it what it is. Jason Shaw, Federer, Gors, Ruiz.
You know, increase the prize money or to move to a different location. So, look, we've still got loads of discussions that are up in the air with multiple different partners. You know, the Bosnian Junior Open, obviously, last week when we were here, and I spent so much time with, and you have to, there was something else, and they all looked at each other and they're like, oh gosh, okay, we can't. Funny, there was one person hadn't shown up for practice, so we were one person short. So I tagged in Tyler Stiles, you know, with this kid. I said, but every time you go down and shoot, you have to close your eyes. You're not allowed to, like. But we had 2 tables and they were getting match practice in, and it was just one rack that they were playing Scotch doubles. And the team that won, they were called just coming in for a practice racks. But you know, it's something that I really want to do this year, and it's just, like you said, find the next superstar. But also, there's what is beautiful about all of us.
She could do it.
So sorry, I've literally just.
You know, you mentioned something right there about they couldn't play with, you know, their friend or something. Is if you're not uncomfortable, you're probably not going to get any better at what you do.
Because of his experience here at Premier League Pool.
Yeah, well, touching on that, even Eklund Kachi, right? Eklund, a veteran, AJ Manis, we know he's going to be back, right? But just like you said, Emily, it's going to sting for a minute.
I saw something from Johann Chua that I've not seen before, where he took like a real leadership role. USA, they're quite used to this whole team dynamic, right? Because they've had this completely brand new. So you've got the likes of Kopinyi, who was cheering the crowd up, and you know, everyone, there was that beautiful moment they all tried to lift him up at the end, and it was just brilliant. And also obviously Carlo Biardo as well, and you know, he was sitting in his chair. There's clips of him sitting there dancing to himself.
Well, he really stepped it up and started to lead the team. I mean, what's it gotta be like to play for Efren Reyes? You guys announced that event. I was literally through the roof, because I can just envision in the next 20 years how big that event.
You know, there, and he was really, you know, I think a lot of people maybe expected him not to be so. But for them, I remember that night, the first night that we were going on the other side, and they were in this, like, it was like a waiting room, and they were sat there, and they were all, you could tell they were all nervous. And I was like, come on, like, you can do this kind of vibe. And the way they were that first night to the finish night, and then they all kind of turned around and went, yeah, I see what you mean now. I see what you mean about it.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel.